My experience has been a little bit like I was a kid folding up little paper boats in a stream somewhere, and it was really fun. And, Daddy Warbucks wandered by and said, "Kid, this is great. Here's a pile of quarter-inch thick plate steel and an army of arc welders. Go build me a battalion of battleships."
Brightly has morphed into Google Docs, a word processor that moves the application and its data from the personal desktop computer to Google's servers.
It's a little bit strange. It is strange. I'm definitely, I'm a 42-year-old graybeard now, right? Like, it's kind of, I'm not that old, but here, that's 90th percentile or something. I don't know what it is. But, yeah, there's a lot of young engineers here. That it doesn't bother me. I think it's interesting to me. I think everybody gets to this point in their career where things begin to seem obvious. I don't mind the technical culture here. I'm not intimidated by it. I'm very productive, fierce, kind of meat-eating coder when I'm writing code, and they're all afraid of me, so they don't bother me.
It's good.
I wasn't here when they founded it, but my understanding of the founding conception of the culture is they wanted to do things and see things from an engineer's perspective.
We do have a lot of P1.
From that perspective, efficiency might very well be an engineer's prime directive.
Triage on them. Right now I'm looking at the one where you open a text document in Gmail and it gives an error.
Most of the teams do this every morning. There's a stand-up meeting. It's meant to be very short. It's about 10 minutes long. You're not supposed to speak for more than about a minute.
All right, so I continue unit testing.
The pencil is the conch shell from the Lord of the Flies. Remember that? So that's whoever has the pencil is talking. That's why it's a very efficient meeting. It took 5 minutes to tell the whole team what was going on.
Another meeting where members of the Google Docs team get to discuss problems is during their weekly Rightly walk.
I think it's interesting to try to do big things that change the world. I think that's what I like about being at Google. We want to change the world too. We want to do great things. What's wrong with the logarithmic pruning that we do now?
The guy was editing for 8 hours and the beginning and the end got pruned.
So
we're using it. Okay. No, that's cool. That's cool. You get to deal with tens of millions of users and, big data centers and big machines and big engineering, and it's really fun.
For computer geeks, the fun really began in 1977 in a Silicon Valley garage when two college dropouts started a company called Apple and launched a revolution. The personal computer revolution. The power of the desktop computer unleashed across millions of homes and offices around the world changed everything. But now, after more than a quarter of a century of insinuating itself into our lives, the PC has lost pretty well all of its original gee-whiz luster. Google has set its sights on creating another revolution by eliminating the need for desktop computers. It wants to put as much of that data as possible onto its own servers.
One of the things I think that's underappreciated is from the very earliest days, including at Stanford, they were great at minimizing the cost for putting together computer systems, and they've carried on that ability to deliver a huge amount of computing power at a relatively low cost.
From its beginnings, Google had made it a priority to manufacture as cheaply as possible all its servers and storage facilities to handle its fast search and logging of the internet. And as the internet has grown, so has the need for increased computing capacity.
Well, Google builds large data centers. We use personal computer components, and then we build a lot of specialized systems now to deal with the kind of scale that is required.
Scale is at the heart of Google. Not only does Google have access to almost limitless computer power, but perhaps of greater value, it has accumulated a massive collection of data. Data that can be used for testing at a scale unseen by most new computer engineers.
My office mate and I were just bantering around some ideas, and we're talking about something that later turned into something close to Google Bookmarks. And, we did a little bit of math and said, that'll be about, 4 petabytes of data. That doesn't seem so bad. And that sentence, 4 petabytes of data, that doesn't seem so bad, is something that before I had been at Google for a month, I would have been shocked to hear those words coming out of my mouth.
That shocking 4 petabytes is the equivalent of 4 million gigabytes, numbers so staggeringly large that it is nearly impossible for mere mortals to fathom. As memory increases in capacity and decreases in price, Google is moving into something called cloud computing.
The whole idea behind cloud computing is to go ahead and get everything on their server where the professionals are managing it. The problem today is you've got all your stuff on your computer, you drop it, you break it, you delete it, it's a disaster. Why don't you put everything that's important somewhere else, keep it secure, keep it under your control, it's available to you on every demand, on every device, and everywhere you are.
The move to the cloud is ushering in a revolution in how we communicate, how we work, how we play, in fact, how we live.
People wonder, what's going to happen to information that is mine personally? It's my bank records, my health records, whatever it is, but I don't control it. It's sitting out there somewhere. I have to just trust whoever has it to not do things with it I wouldn't want.
Is this move into the clouds opening a back door for governments and corporations to secretly access data about us? If everyone's digital data is moving into computer clouds, just where are these clouds? One of them has touched down in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina. This was once the heartland of American furniture manufacturing. Then in the 1990s, cheap labor from overseas siphoned off the jobs, leaving behind a devastated economy and an awful lot of excess electricity. It just so happens that computer data centers are voracious users of electricity to run the servers and to cool vast quantities of water used for refrigeration. The town of Lenore had plenty of both, and so in late 2005, Google came calling, but it came cloaked in secrecy.
From Google's perspective, at least as I understood it, it was that the race to build these data centers is so intense, and the information, at least they see it, is so proprietary that they didn't want any of their competitors to get wind of what they were doing.
T.J. Rohr is a lawyer and a member of the Lenore City Council who was involved in the closed-door negotiations with Google.
They would reveal information to us that we couldn't reveal to anyone else. Google definitely had an attitude like, look, it's our way or the highway. These are the terms we're offering. Take them or leave them.
Desperate local and state officials were more than ready to reach a deal that would bring Google to this devastated county. They offered Google a 30-year tax break on property and equipment.
It was worth an estimated $165 million over a 30-year period.
From these digital warehouses estimated to cost $600 million apiece flows a stream of data. Here are the emails, the photographs, the music, the videos, the maps, and the searches that have made Google a data-collecting powerhouse. Google does not divulge how many server farms it runs worldwide, but it is rumored that there are some 36 of them around the globe, all digitally connected and all firmly planted on land. But that might change. Google has filed a patent to build data centers out on the open sea. Powered by the latest technologies in harnessing wave energy, Google's servers would sit out on barges. The expectation is that sea-bound servers would be much cheaper to run, and there certainly wouldn't be any real estate or property taxes to pay. A working model has yet to be built, but Google is a corporation that likes to move quickly when cutting-edge technology is involved. However, Google took its time when it came to opening up an office in China. The growth in internet usage in China is staggering. By 2009, its internet users surpassed the entire population of the United States. It is an exploding market made more complex by a censorious government.
We were late in entering China. We were late because we were concerned about some of their content laws.
In order for Google to set up an office in China, it had to agree to block certain sites from its search results. The Chinese government decides who gets past their Chinese firewall. To run Google in China, they landed Kai-Fu Lee, a senior executive at Microsoft. who was once in charge of their operations in China. In 2005, Kai-Fu Lee found himself in the role of Noogler, as new Googlers are called.
When I joined Google, I used the word shock to describe what I felt I saw. And I think it's a combination of things. It's a combination of the Google values, and that's just how young and happy this company was. It's my goal to make the culture in the Google China office as close as possible to that of Google Mountain View office. It's impossible to make it exactly the same because the Chinese culture and the American cultures are different.
Nothing separates these two cultures more than who is actually using the internet.
The average internet user is 25 years old in China versus about 42 in the United States. So the difference is substantial, and the usage patterns is also quite different. The Chinese users, because they're younger, tend to like entertainment, games, music, video.